Hello and welcome to Echo Conversations. We're so glad you've joined us. Today is an exciting episode. We have NeedHim's president, Pete Miller, here with us. And today we're going to be talking about the Resident Leader program that you guys have created. And just tell us, what is that and why did you create it?
Yeah, well, as an organization that relies on volunteers, you never have enough. You're always looking to grow more, especially as you have a ministry that's growing in size already. Most ministries, I think, want to think, hey, we'll tap into the church or into the Bible-based colleges and universities, and that's a natural feeder system. Well, that's harder said than done.
Okay.
Those organizations don't always produce the volume or the commitment of volunteers that you may think. So one day we were sitting around the ministry with somebody in the ministry attending seminary who said, just seems to be a lot of students in seminary looking for part-time work,
right?
Looking for the chance to do something significant rather than pour coffee at Starbucks or make sandwiches at Subway.
Right.
So we thought, we did a trial, and we did a very small, hey, if we brought people on and gave them a pretty robust schedule, 20 hours a week, and for us that means 5 shifts of 4 hours each, and we paid them a small amount of money for that, what would happen? Well, what we quickly found is that experience created really sort of a super volunteer, if you will. They were on so much so often that the experience they gained resulted in better conversations, resulted in them being more confident, resulted in them probably being more willing to take the harder conversations that might be in the queue than a new volunteer who really might not gravitate towards some harder topics. So for all of those reasons, we thought, let's try this out. Let's bring on seminarians. We created a program where it's a 1-year internship. And it's really about we're not in competition with seminary. We're augmenting the experience. We're allowing them to take what they're learning in the classroom. And this is specifically for people who want to get into ministry, who want to get into pastoral care, who really want to be involved in evangelism and say, hey, we're going to give you the chance to take 2,500 to 3,500 conversations over the course of a year on every imaginable topic from all over the world.
Right.
So it's cultural, it's relevant, it's geographical, and really put them in a better position to become the future leaders of the church.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so how far into this experiment are you?
Yeah, so we're past experiment stage.
Okay.
We're in year 4, and we bring on a class every quarter. So every 3 months, we bring on somewhere between 3 and 6 new residents. And we're not operating on a quota system. We're operating on an opportunity system. The better candidates we get, the more we'll bring on. If it's not quite as strong a class of candidates, we won't bring on as many.
So that means you're turning people down.
Absolutely.
You're not accepting everybody, even from a seminary.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting.
Lots of young people go to seminary really without a plan. And we're probably not the place someone who's trying to figure out what their life's going to be about.
I see.
Is a good fit. For those who know where they're headed and are really want that real world experience, there's a lot of biblical counseling students. Although we're not counselors and never claim to be, where else are you going to talk to that many people with this many a variety of issues and really get prepared for your future as a biblical counselor?
And this is just a quick side note tangent on this, but you mentioned who will be able to speak to this many people about this many issues. Can you just briefly talk, if a ministry is watching us right now and they really haven't done an online evangelism, how deep are people going in conversation with you about things?
Yeah, I think because people can reach us anonymously, they're much more likely to bare their soul, if you will. It's very, very common to hear, I've never told anybody this before.
Wow.
So we're talking about a wide spectrum of issues, some really deep brokenness. We think there's a high percentage of people we're talking to, just based on what they tell us, who are really running from God and from church.
Yeah.
So now they're reaching somebody with some pretty heavy damage to their heart, some pretty heavy habits within types of sin.
Right.
And they're really saying, hey, I know I need to change, but I don't even know where to start.
Wow. I think when we look at, because we kind of have this like bird's eye view where we can see all these different conversations that are happening, I think there's never been an opportunity in all of humanity to have a heart conversations so quickly. You know, it's just almost like they come on and then they go straight to heart questions and things that they're really hurting and struggling with. Where, you know, in the past, if you and I as men were friends, we may talk about our favorite sports team and maybe we'll know like a couple of other details, but we'll stay very surface for a long time before we'll go in. And these conversations, man, I think, just from my perspective, there's never been an opportunity to share so deep. Okay, anyway, that's a side tangent.
There's no doubt. The example I give is I think there's 3 words our parents' generation never really used.
Okay.
Now, we know these things happen, but nobody would talk about them.
Okay.
And they were divorce, depression, and suicide. There were divorced couples, but you didn't hear about it.
Okay.
There was depression, and there was even institutions that would try to treat depression. But again, nobody would talk about somebody who was going there.
Right.
And suicide happened, but no one would really discuss it publicly.
Yeah.
Now those concerns or fears or thoughts about those issues are often in the topic. So
Right.
before you even say hello, somebody is telling you, I'm having suicidal thoughts.
Wow.
So yeah, I think people are much more willing to put their brokenness right out on the table.
That's so cool. Well, back to the Resident Leader program, but I just wanted to take that tangent because I have been talking to some ministries lately, and they haven't experienced these conversations that we're having with chat and text, and this is so amazing and so quick. I want to make sure and share that. So you've got these Resident Leaders. You've been doing it for 4 years. You're rotating them out. Is it on the semester calendar?
No, it's just every quarter.
Every
of
quarter.
The year. So
Okay.
we're bringing them in. Some of them, one of the classes starts in the middle of summer when classes traditionally aren't held in a seminary.
And they're getting paid.
They are.
And so since they're getting paid, I know one thing that as I work with ministries, as they have their volunteers, it seems like they're always walking on eggshells. They're always very, I don't want to disturb the volunteer. What freedoms did you get by paying somebody?
Yeah, well, obviously, they're committing to a larger chunk of time online than a normal volunteer would. 20 hours a week is significant. Secondly, because we're working with them, we schedule their time online. So we're not asking them to skip class or church or family time, but we are asking them to commit to a schedule. So we sit down with each of them at the end of each month and schedule them for the next month. And they can switch month after month, but we know what the hours they're going to be working throughout the course of the next month, if you will. So one of the things we're able to do through a little bit of massaging and encouragement is make sure we've got a seasoned seminarian/resident online from 6 in the morning all the way to 2 in the morning. So 20 of 24 hours a day, we've got essentially a team leader online, somebody who handles a high volume, who has some biblical training, and who has experienced enough with us that they can help other volunteers.
Right. That's so interesting. And so, if we kind of look at this whole package, you've got seminary. So they're kind of like your feeder, your way of kind of getting these different people in, and the people you're getting obviously are qualified. This is what they're signing up to do. How did you work this out with the seminaries? Yeah,
so we started with 2 local seminaries in the Dallas area. And what we simply did is said we wanted to post an internship in ministry. The fortunate thing, and we sort of knew we were onto something, is we've never done any advertising for this campaign. So every additional resident that's come on board has been a referral from another resident. As the seminaries have seen the benefit of this, and there's really been, I guess, several, but the 2 that I think stick out are the confidence that a resident gains over the course of this year doing this kind of evangelism results in them being simply more prepared than their classmates. They've used all this knowledge they've acquired in seminary and have had a chance to apply it to real-world conversations. We've seen that in so many of them getting hired quickly upon graduation. As you can imagine, if you're sitting in a job interview and they say, what have you been doing for the last year? And you can say, well, I had 3,500 conversations across these topics all around the world. Most pastors haven't done that. For us, we talk to a lot of millennials. So to be able to say, and most of those were with young people, if you're interviewing for a youth pastor job, you probably got the job on the spot at that moment.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So as seminaries have seen the benefit their students have acquired, and who obviously want to train their students well in evangelism, we're starting to have more conversations where they're including it within the curriculum.
Right.
Which ultimately is great for us because we'd love for every seminary student to have to do it and for us not to have to pay them.
Right.
We're not there yet. We're earning that, and we're going, but we're seeing more and more traction with seminaries starting to say in certain key classes, hey, we want you to be online with NeedHim as part of the curriculum.
Wow, that's really cool. So today, are they getting credit at the collegiate level for this always, or just certain seminaries, or it's just part of that classes requirement? Like, where is that on that continuum?
I think there's 3 models right now. One is just the traditional, it's an internship, so I'm paid, but I get no school credit.
Okay.
One for those who have a practicum requirement or some kind of requirement to do real life ministry as part of graduation, they can also accomplish that with us.
Right.
And then there's those cases where a seminary professor may require it as part of a class.
Right.
And in that case, you're really just a volunteer for us, completing a classroom assignment via being a volunteer for us.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. So if a ministry is watching this right now, what would be the next steps? And they're like, oh, why didn't we think about this? We should talk to a seminary. What is any advice just in general of how to approach a seminary? And
yeah, it's not easy, right? It's not something they're used to doing. And like most higher education institutions, change doesn't happen easily or quickly. So in our case, I think we realized we would have to pay seminarians, bring them on as interns to show the results and hopefully get the seminaries themselves behind the program and thinking, hey, how else could we use this? So don't expect immediate buy-in from seminaries and them making it part of every class required quickly. It's going to be a slow process, but the experience the seminarian will gain is all they really need to see. So we do a survey at the end of experience, 7 questions, about what changed over the last year.
Yeah.
And what we share with seminaries and what we share with donors is the feedback directly from the residents. I can talk about it all day, but when they hear it in the words of the person who now says, I was afraid to share my faith and now I do. I've been transformed in this way. I thought I knew how broken the world was. I had no idea. I thought I knew how to pray before sharing the gospel. Now I know I have to pray.
Wow.
It transforms how they share God's word.
Sure. That's awesome. Well, Pete, thanks for being with us today. If you're a ministry and you're looking at trying to up your volunteer game, use an approach like this. Maybe you don't have any seminaries in your area, but maybe there's something else that's similar that would work. But maybe there's something in your denomination or connections that you have that you could use. But consider, and I should also say, maybe you don't have a lot of money. But this may be a great opportunity to write a special grant request or something like that and try it. Because if you can have that super volunteer, that one that's really more of what you're looking for as a lead that can even shepherd some other volunteers as they're on, imagine the extra impact you're going to be able to have and the quality of the interactions. I mean, you've done all this work to get the person to come to have the conversation. The last thing we want is for that conversation to be subpar and not really live up to what its full potential could be. So definitely, if this is something you've been struggling with, consider this approach and model what NeedHim is doing. Thank you so much for your time, Pete, and thank you everyone for watching. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. Make sure and like and subscribe to our channel. Click that bell so that you'll be notified every time we have a new video coming out. And I wanted to make you aware that we have some incredibly awesome resources totally free for you, whether you are or are not an Echo customer. Just go to echoglobal.org/resources and you can look at all of them totally free. echoglobal.org/resources. Like seriously, like now is a great time to go. echoglobal.org/resources.